Makarini Rupene. Have I pronounced that right, Makarini?
Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, thanks, mate, thanks. You know, we're doing our best here this week. It's Maori Language Week, of course, and as I've been saying this week, it's just really, you know, for those that don't have te reo as a first language, it can be slightly intimidating, especially when you're, you know, trying but get it wrong, if you know what I mean. So we've got you in here today to give us a bit of a hand with correct pronunciation and that sort of thing. A mate of mine who's been helping me this week, he's part Maori, and he said to me the other day, do you know your pepeha? And I said, well, what is that? And he explained it to me, and it's fascinating, isn't it, really? So it's basically about introducing yourself and expressing who you are and where you're from. And in my case, I said, well, I grew up on St. John's Hill in Wanganui. He said, well, has it got a Maori name? I said, not that I'm aware of. And he looked it up, and he came back and he said, mate, that's Kaiharo. And I remember there's a rugby club up on St. John's Hill called Kaiharo, and I didn't know. And it's kind of cool because that's where I'm from, you know, and I've made that connection now. What about your pepeha?
Kia ora hone, Atamari. So I can just open in my pepeha, ko Mokoteri te Mauka, ko Rakahuri, ko Waimakariri na awa, ko Titai Maha Nui, ko Takitimu te Waka, ko Nai Tuahuriri te Hapu, ko Makarini Rupene te Konga, nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Morena. Right, well, I got from that you were associating yourself with certain waka, maunga, that sort of thing, yeah? Yeah, that's correct, Honi. And so for us, our pepeha, it's a way of when we come into a new meeting or a greeting or a party and we have to introduce ourselves. It's a way of getting to know who each other are, learning each other's background or whakapapa, history, genealogy. And by doing that, you know your connections and where that person comes from. So for myself, I mentioned Mokoteri, which is Mount Grey, is our mountain. The Rakahuri, which is the Ashley, and the Waimakariri are my awa. Titai Mahanui is Pegasus Bay, and my hapu is Nai Tuahuriri, which is a sub-tribe of Ngāi Tahu. So all these place names that we take for granted have great meaning to you. That's correct, yeah. Yeah. Right, let's have a bit of a lesson, if you wouldn't mind, Makarini. And I've always thought perhaps the best place to start with understanding or getting a bit of a grip on you know, correct pronunciation when it comes to te reo is understanding the vowels. Yeah. Could we have a look at those? Yeah. So we've got a, e, or u, which is is a, is I, e is e, and E is I, yep. And or is O, yep. And U is you. Right. So with the O, for instance, I always picture I'm rowing a boat using an oar. Oar. Yeah. Or it's awesome. You know. Yeah. So it's not O, it's or, and it's not U, it's U. That's correct. Yeah. A is A. E is E. I is E. Okay. Or U. Right. Once you've got that, you can kind of, you know, can't you? Start rolling it off your tongue. That's correct. Yeah. Let's have a look at what we're right now in Rangi Ora. Now, I was taught through Radio New Zealand Maori pronunciation school way back when that the NG it's a bit like when you say sing, your tongue hits the roof of your mouth. And it's like, so it's not na, it's nga. Nah. Yeah. Kia ora. So Rangi Ora. 4 syllables there. Yeah. So that's a tricky one to get your, to get your tongue around, is that NG sound, yeah? It can be. And like you say, going back with the R and the or, quite often the other two vowels that you hear not pronounced correctly. Yep. Let's have a look at Rangi Ora. I hope I've got that right. What does that mean? Well, Rangi Ora, so back in the old days, this area was covered in a plant which was called Rangi Ora. But Rangi Ora is also our sky father, and Ora means well-being. So to look at it, you could say we've been looked after by our sky father. And quite often I feel that when I come to Rangi Ora, because I might be 5 minutes out of Rangi Ora and I'm in rain and hail and dark clouds, and I get to Rangi Ora, it's beautiful and sunny. Yeah. So that works. Yeah, it does actually. What about Rakahuri? Have I pronounced that correctly? Ai, Rakahuri. So that's our Ashley River. Again, and there's a couple of different dialects. There's the northern dialect and the very deep southern dialect. But basically that's the rangi and the raki. But we call it Rakahuri. And that's, again, relates back to the sky. And when you look at the clouds, sometimes how they interweave and they're woven. And they look a bit like a braided river. And so that's what the Rakahuri is, a braided river.
Right. Now, locally, we often say ohoka, but we've discussed the oar thing, rowing the boat with the oar. We've got two O's there, so it's ohoka.
Ohoka, that's correct.
Right. And what does that mean?
So so a lot of these names have been broken back down and shortened, but ohoka refers to out ohoka and a special bird snare that was used to catch the swamp birds out there.
So the swamp, the snare was an ohoka.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
And that was the name of the trap, the snare.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Of course, one of our great towns here in the Waimakariri, Kaiapoi.
Yeah, so Kaiapoi, very well known name, also part of the original Ngāi Stronghold pass site, which was known as a well-known trading post. So hence the name Kaiapoi. Kai is known as food, but it's also an action verb, so it's a moving word. So you put it in front of Kaiapoi, so it's to swing or move the poi, which was used for Kaiapoi, the pa, to bring in the natural resources from all around the different areas. Yeah.
Okay. We mentioned Waimakariri.
Yep.
Have I got that pretty right?
Yeah, Waimakariri,
yep.
Which we know is cold water.
That is cold water.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What about crikey? This is always a challenging one. Motuno.
Aye, Motuno. So Motuno, everyone knows Motuno Island. Motu actually means island, and no was a special grass that grows on the island, and it's a grass that was used to treat scurvy. So back in the old times, yeah.
For scurvy.
Scurvy, that's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a special grass. Still grows there, Makarini?
I'm not too sure if it's still there now. Just through different land use and what has happened in the last 140, 50 years there, yeah.
Right, okay. Got a couple more. Yep. Kaikoura?
Kaikoura, yeah, Kaikoura. There's that O and that U.
Yes.
Kaikoura, Kaikoura. And again, that's just a place of an abundance of crayfish, yeah.
Yep, kai being food, of course, kaura being crayfish.
And also that using that kai as the action verb for moving, so moving of the crayfish, abundance of the crayfish.
Yep. And one more, if you wouldn't mind, Maori. Is it? You know, I still wonder: is it Māori or is it Maori? Or could you correct?
It's a good one. Yeah, Maori. Yep, that's how I pronounce it. And back when Europeans were just arriving, I was like, well, what do you guys call yourselves? And we're like, well, we're normal. We're Maori. So it just means to be normal.
I get it. Yeah, to be normal. Right.
Yeah.
We're normal. We're Maori. I get it. Right. Yeah. Gotcha. And what are you? Yeah. And I would imagine, you know, when Maori first encountered white people or Pākehā people for the first time, it must have been a hell of a shock, especially when they were coming on these things with these great billowing sails and whatnot. It must have been quite frightening in a way.
Well, I think that and enchanting as well as, they would have looked at these big ships and going, well, these are a lot different to ours, and they would have been interested in it. And back in them days, Māori were very inquisitive and quick learners, so they picked up on things very well.
Yep. Could we finish, Makarini? It's been such fun, mate. I've really enjoyed it. Could we finish with a proverb? And I think that's a whakatauki.
A whakatauki, that's correct. Yeah, and that's just like a words of wisdom to take you through the day and to help you get you through and learn from. So I've got one here today. It's whaohia tau kete mautaranga, which means fill up your basket with knowledge and use it throughout your life. Yeah.
Wonderful, mate. Thanks so much for coming in and sharing your knowledge with us here, and we'll keep practicing.
Kia ora. And can I just say, hone, me horo care. It's been amazing and beautiful listening throughout the week, the beautiful te reo that's been coming through the station. So, kia ora.
Thank you very much. Coming from you, that's a great compliment, Makarini. Thank you very much. Makarini Rupene, everybody, a friend to us all here at Compass FM.